Children's Reading Foundation of Appalachia serves 4 counties in southeastern Kentucky, including Bell, Clay, Laurel, and Leslie. This region lies at the base of the eastern Appalachian coalfield and mountainous region of the state. These counties are part of an area rich in culture and tradition, and the landscapes here are among some of the most magnificent in the nation. Unfortunately, these counties still rank among some of the poorest in the country. Although illiteracy and weak school preparedness skills are in no way specific to Appalachia alone, still the averages here remain consistently below the national standards. The mission of the Children's Reading Foundation of Appalachia, also known as the CRF, is to help advance these communities in both the understanding of the importance of literacy and to better prepare the people in taking action in improving school preparedness. The CRF helps support its local children, parents and guardians, and schools in efforts to have all children reading by no later than the 3rd grade. It labors to get the proper reading level of books in every home and hand of these communities. The members believe in the research that proves by reading with children just 20 minutes a day, it helps them become better readers, and that better readers are more likely to stay in school and succeed later in their lives. The CRF works across all social, cultural, and financial boundaries to help facilitate parental and community involvement in encouraging imagination, education, and success through literacy.
The Children's Reading Foundation, the primary goal when they first come into a community is to spread a message. That message is read your children 20 minutes a day. And by doing that, you increase the likelihood that they will be a successful reader by 3rd grade. As we look at areas where there's extreme poverty or just, the poverty that may just be threaded throughout a society, we look at the idea that children don't have the correct books in their home at any given time. So what they may do is they may have a shelf of books, but if they have a child that's reading on a 1st grade level and an 8th grade level, do they have the books that those children are interested in, number one, and are they a challenging level for that child?
Kentucky's come a long way, actually. We used to be just right above Mississippi, and people would say, well, thank God for Mississippi, but that's no longer the case. We're about right in the middle of the pack. But if you look at things, if you look at this area, you have to sort of contrast this area with the rest of Kentucky, because we're below the state average in Bell County and several counties here in eastern Kentucky. I don't know if people really realize this if you're not from this area, but you hear about eastern Kentucky, and there are several counties in eastern Kentucky, for example, Clay, Owsley, Bell, Knox, and several others that are among the poorest counties in the nation. The children that come from those homes and stuff where reading has been encouraged and they've learned how to read, they're going to continue on reading because they like to read. You could put them in a room by themselves and they'd probably be okay as far as reading goes. Now the other kids, who are behind, and research has shown this clearly, that they get further behind every grade level. So if you're behind, like in 2nd and 3rd grade, and then you get to 6th and 7th grade, if you're only 1 grade behind in, let's say, 2nd grade, you could be 4 or 5 grade levels behind by the time you get to 6th or 7th grade. And, research also shows that, students who are behind in reading and have trouble, let's say 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, definitely most likely to drop out, be high school dropouts. There's no question about that. So you're talking about at-risk students. Low reading ability or low readers are your most at-risk students by far.
By far the greatest obstacle in front of us is to educate the parents about what has changed in their lifetime, about what kindergarten is and about what reading readiness is. When I first started teaching in 1982, reading readiness was what a kindergarten teacher was successful at. Learning the letters of the alphabet, learning to count. Now kindergarten children are being required to read 500 plus words before they leave kindergarten. Well, if we've made that change and we haven't told the parents that that change has happened, they're now in charge of readiness. So if they're not teaching the children to recognize the letters of the alphabet and learn to be able to hear rhyme, to understand the difference between beginning and ending sounds, they're not going to learn to read before they leave kindergarten, and then they're behind in kindergarten. And that's where I think the foundation and Ready for Kindergarten tells us a lot about if we are starting an average kindergarten class, 2 years, some of the children will be 2 years behind, some of the children will be 2 years ahead. So you're really teaching a group of children who are never on the same level. And that makes it very difficult to get those reading scores where we want them.
It turned out that I was dyslexic. And due to my dyslexia, I wasn't able to read until I was probably 8 years old. I had to repeat second grade in order to learn to read. And unless you've had a difficulty in attaining literacy, I don't think that you realize truly what a gift it is. You don't realize that it is magical until it's been denied to you. But having learned to read and having had that special person who saw that I had that desire but not the ability, having had that person who cared enough to lead me away from illiteracy and to teach me to read, I was able to conquer my problems, learn to read, and it's been my lifelong desire to share that with other people. That's part of what I enjoy the most about being involved with CRF is the fact that I get to make that available to people on a widespread basis just through the few hours of volunteer work that I've done.
The CRF has very diligent and hardworking volunteers, though the volume of volunteerism is one area in particular in which it hopes to increase its numbers. The program having a community-based structure makes the need for volunteerism critical for success. Without the generosity of community members giving their time to help support the foundation, the CRF will be left treading in rough waters. The triumphs or failures of this community-based program will rest solely in the hands of the people themselves.
The level of importance that the community plays in this, for this to work, it's top priority. We won't fail or succeed if school administrators get on board this. By all means, we definitely need them. And we need information from them. We need collaboration from them. But this is a community-based program. It's designed to be that way from the national headquarters. So it's not just in Appalachia, Kentucky that they want it to be community-based. That's how it's designed. Because it's not teachers that need to read to their children 20 minutes a day more. Of course, we want to make sure that's happening. But this is parents. This is grandparents. These are asking for volunteers to come into schools for literacy events. This is the idea that it will become a culture in Bell County for it to be celebrated in the news media, to be celebrated at football games, to be celebrated in churches. This is business oriented. We have business partners. We have been given space in the Middlesboro Mall to have a location and a place where we can meet because local business people found that we were an asset to the community, but also because they realized it's an important movement.
The Children's Reading Foundation of Appalachia participates in and hosts numerous events aimed at helping spread their messages of literacy and school preparedness, and to get free books and other educational materials out into the communities. They have numerous free book zones that are neighborhood locations which stockpile books for anyone to take home free of charge. They work with local schools and universities, hospitals, churches, theaters, businesses, and many other organizations to aid in the continuous weaving of their messages throughout the fabric of these communities.
I think it is so important to read, and it's so important to just embrace literacy. We just don't know what is out there that can help us. And I think about me, just particular, I didn't know what had happened to me. I lived my whole life not knowing that I was born with amniotic band syndrome. And it changed my life when I discovered that information on the internet. So just, I know reading, finding out different things, it can change our lives. And it can just help our children, give them a better life so that they don't have to, do the jobs maybe that we've had to do. And that they'll have just better opportunities. And just for their life, we don't know what they're going to face, what struggles they're going to go through. And books are just a wonderful way to help them, to help us all learn. Every time I pick up a book, even if I've read it before, I learn something new every single time. It's the best 20 minutes of the day. It's 20 minutes that we set aside, that we're going to spend family time. And I think our children are always watching us to see what we do. And if we just set that time and, read a book, talk about the book, or read the newspaper, or just a magazine that they might like. It doesn't always just have to be books. But find something that they like, read it, talk about it. It opens those lines of communication. When they were younger especially, you could get them on your lap and use that time to snuggle with them and just let them know that, regardless of how busy that we are, and I'm very busy now, but that Mommy still takes time, 20 minutes a day, to, just spend time with them. So I think it's something that you look forward to. And if you get in that routine, then before you know it, everybody's just embracing it.
I think it can be done. I think people can make up. I see students who come to, you talk about, GED programs, for example. I've seen students raise their reading level, like 6th grade levels, in a matter of a few months. Actually gain more in a few months than they did the whole time that they were in school, for example. And you wonder, well, how can that be? What's happening? And it just shows you what people can do if they're motivated. So a lot of it is, people finding the right motivation and then being in the right environment and having access to the right resources. Well, they always say that, books can take you anywhere, and I think that would be a good metaphor for what we're trying to do. You develop good readers early on, and, people who like to read and read a lot of books, well, you get ideas from books. That's the number one way that you get ideas and think about other things and other places and concepts, explore, you explore with your mind, and we certainly need more people doing that. We just don't have, we have some people doing it. My son, I don't want to brag here on camera, but my son went to Yale, and he went to public school his whole life here in Bell County, graduated from Bell County High School, went to Yale and majored in philosophy, got a degree in philosophy. So it can be done, he's a bright guy, but he likes to read, so I would go back and say that, the whole reading is sort of sets the stage, for what will come next, It's sort of a precondition, I would call it, or a prerequisite, If you don't have that, then what you have is people who do lack vision, they just don't consider all the possibilities that may be available to them.
It's up to each of us to make the world we live in the kind of place that we want it to be. And that comes down to the very basic things, including learning to read, including being a responsible member of society.
Because if we can't read, we have to rely on what we can hear or see or someone else can control. When you can read, you're in control of your education.